Well, there was a little post-game 49ers Jacksonville drama. Robert Saleh, Liam Coen seemed to be yelling at each other, and Kyle Shanahan said this.
Don't think you should be that sensitive about it, but it is what it is. Not too worried about it.
Obviously, some tempers flaring after what was a frustrating loss for the 49ers. Craziest part about it is they dropped this game only by 5 points. 26-21, despite the fact that they turned it over 4 times, didn't have an official takeaway of their own because Upton Stout's interception was erased by the officials. They dropped several passes, and of course the 49ers also had a special teams meltdown today. 3 big errors there, yet they only lost 26-21. Here's a stat. I think this is the most encouraging part of the 49ers performance today because we've got to look at this in the big picture. This is a marathon, not a sprint. In the first half of this game, Jacksonville against the 49ers offense, 231 yards on 34 plays. They were gashing them. I mean, he had the long Travis Etienne touchdown, way too much leaky yardage in the run game. Kyle Shanahan lamented that the 49ers weren't doing anything to contest Trevor Lawrence in the quick game, and they didn't touch Trevor Lawrence in that first half with their 4-man pass rush. So 6.8 yards per play for Jacksonville over the first 30 minutes. In the second half, Jacksonville managed only 94 yards on 29 plays. So from 6.8 yards per play to 3.2 yards per play. And big picture, we've said, well, the 49ers offense, obviously, they've got to get healthy, and it's going to be a challenge. Ricky Pearsall in the locker room today said that his knee was in a lot of pain after that toe tap attempt. He said there was a little instability, that they might lose Pearsall here for at least a little bit. So it's going to be a challenge to continue improving offensively, but still, that's going to be the part of the game that has to lead the way for the 49ers without Nick Bosa. But the fact that the defense got better over the course of this game, after they looked so bad, they were so gashed in the first half, the fact that they were able to turn things around to a reasonable extent and give the 49ers a chance in the second half, that is actually, I think, big news in the big picture. Doesn't preclude a potential move for an edge rusher because they didn't hit Trevor Lawrence today. I mean, it's a problem. They weren't rushing very effectively with 4, but it does show that Robert Saleh can make adjustments, can put on the smoke and mirrors to give the 49ers a chance on that side of the ball. And I think that if Upton Stout is indeed credited with that interception, if that illegal contact penalty, which was highly questionable, is not called, the 49ers probably walk out of here with a win, even with all the other mistakes that they did commit. So that's definitely the way that the 49ers are talking about this game leaving it. They have to play cleaner. Kendrick Bourne in the locker room said that he's got to be in better spots for Brock Purdy. Maybe there was a little bit of a chemistry issue there. Maybe Kendrick was a step or 2 off, but there were 3 drops. End of the day, the football hit his hands and he wasn't able to catch it. The Christian McCaffrey play that turned into the interception was a little bit high from Brock Purdy, but Christian thought he'd be able to leap up and get it with 2 hands. Then he said, I had to change to 1 hand, and then the worst luck on that play is he batted it backwards and it turned into the interception. Christian, he had a couple drops last week, and then he had this play. I don't know if you want to call it a drop or not, but he wasn't able to haul it in. Then he had a fumble that the 49ers actually recovered later. Those are uncharacteristic plays in the larger scale of Christian McCaffrey's body of work. And I think that those struggles are emblematic of the 49ers' inability to play a clean game offensively today. I mean, Christian, on the little shovel pass when he scored, that was vintage, spectacular Christian McCaffrey. And it brought the 49ers right back into this football game. But then on some of the more routine plays, I'm not saying the interception play was routine, but on some of the more routine plays, he did see some drops and inability to hold on to the football. Kendrick Bourne had those 3 drops for San Francisco today. And then the first gaffe that really knocked the 49ers off track was the tight end, Luke Farrell, former Jaguar, by the way. So in a game that saw a former Jaguar turned 49er and also a very key former 49er turned Jaguar, the advantage was on Jacksonville's side because Farrell's fumble early in this game really tilted the scale in Jacksonville's favor. They got the football. They were able to go down and score. I think the Etienne touchdown happened the play after that. That was a terrible 2-play sequence. followed by probably an even worse two-play sequence when the 49ers were unable to convert, and then we saw Jacksonville 89-yard punt return from Parker Harrison. So Luke Farrell really helped his former team, and Eric Armstead, on the other hand, hurt his former team. Final chance for the 49ers. They're trying to drive to score the winning touchdown, down only 5 points, and Eric Armstead beats the center right of the 49ers offensive line between Jake Brendel and Dominic Pooney. Knocks the ball away from Brock Purdy, fumble, and Jacksonville seals the game. Had to feel good for Eric Armstead. I talked to Trent Williams in the locker room, and he said that Josh Hines-Allen is the real deal. Now, Trayvon Walker got knocked out of this game early with a wrist injury, so that was a break for the 49ers that I think they capitalized on a bit. I mean, the team had nearly 400 yards of total offense. They were at nearly 7 yards per play in this football game. The 49ers didn't have trouble moving the football. They were doing most of it through the air, since the run game, once they fell behind, didn't have a chance to keep the same traction as it did during the first drive. They just couldn't hold on to it. I mean, there's a difference between moving the ball and holding on to it, and I think that against a defense like this, an opportunistic one like Jacksonville, there's got to be even more care to securing the football. Jags lead the NFL now, 13 takeaways on the season. They lead the NFL in turnover differential, and the 49ers are trying to pay them back with a takeaway of their own. I know Stout did intercept that pass, and it was nullified. Fred Warner was close on a couple. D. Winters was close on one. It just didn't break the 49ers' way today in the turnover department, and it's going to be really hard to win that game, which is why you have to play special teams to at least a draw. I mean, it cannot be as hard as it has been for the 49ers to just be mediocre on special teams. They have now been downright atrocious in not two straight games, but in 2 games this season, against Seattle and then today. They lost 11 expected points against Seattle on special teams alone. They should have won that game by 2 touchdowns. The carnage is going to be similar once we see the advanced numbers for this game. I mean, Harrison with the long kick return at the end of the first half, then the long punt return, like 89 yards for a touchdown in the second half. That put Jacksonville at 26 points. They didn't score after that, but it ended up being the winning score. And then when the 49ers had a chance to get the ball back in much better position in the fourth quarter, Chase Lucas with a late shove up to the helmet, personal foul. These are bad sequences or just individual plays for the 49ers, and so many of them are coming on special teams, and you realize that just one slightly better performance in all phases of the game, but that's the one that's the most changeable to me would seem to be special teams, where you're giving up 2 times the return yards of the opposition. Just one better performance in that phase of the game puts the 49ers into really good chance to win. So that's how you have to see it. There's a lot of potential explosiveness and scoring ability on the offense, even with guys down. Ricky Pearsall, as I mentioned, he was saying there was some instability in the knee. That's tough for the 49ers. We're going to get an update on him maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, but they obviously want him back. But even with him out, even with this team so shorthanded, no George Kittle, no Brandon Ayuk, they're still moving the football against a good defense, but they have to find a way to just secure it. Take the check down, take the 3 points, take the just continue producing, keep the line moving. And today, whether they're carrying the ball around like a loaf of bread or on the one Purdy interception that was tipped, I thought that was a first down force. I mean, even if it wasn't tipped there in the second half, I didn't see where the window was going to be where Brock Purdy was throwing, and I think that the check down probably a better play in that regard. So harness the potential of this offense, which is obviously there despite some of the shorthandedness, and make sure that you're mistake-free or as close to it as possible. And defensively, that was the side of the ball that finished this game on the upward trajectory. So 2 thumbs up there, but they still do have to be better to start matters off. Because on the defensive side of the ball, when you give up an explosive run like they did to Travis Etienne, and all of a sudden you're playing uphill as a team because you're behind, I know that the offense probably opened that door with the Luke Farrell fumble, but if you don't stop the run, you're definitely not going to have any fun without Nick Bosa in there. You have to be an advantageous down and distance. You have to make the run somewhat of an afterthought for opposing offenses, because once they get downhill with some of those gashing runs, you're going to be on your heels. Play action is going to open for them. And, you know, it's going to be really hard to turn things around, although Saleh was able to put together some of those smoke and mirrors to make things better for the 49ers in the second half. But, you know, one of the messages in the locker room, and I think this is the primary one, Kyle Shanahan said, you can't let one become two. Can't let one loss become two losses, or maybe better illustrated, you can't let one no-show become two no-shows, because the first half of this game, in so many ways, with some of the mistakes the 49ers were making, was a no-show for San Francisco. And you can't let that carry over to Thursday. You've got to make it be something that is a lock-in effect for Thursday against the Rams. They beat the Colts, who were previously undefeated today, down at SoFi. So, and the 49ers, it does look like they're going to be continually shorthanded, maybe even more than they were today. Given that Pearsall injury, we'll see what else crops up for San Francisco tomorrow. So they're going to have to find a way to rally and see if they can put up a good fight in the division at SoFi Stadium on Thursday. And it's a short week for the Rams as well. So it's one of those situations for the 49ers where you have to have a short memory. And this league, they're going to play 17 of these regular season games this year. You can't get too high off the wins. You can't get too low off the losses. You just have to continue churning. You have to see where the potential is. Obviously, plenty of it on offense if they can play some clean football. And I think that there is some juice on that defensive side of the ball between Fred Warner, just dominant for San Francisco, it seems, at all times. Winters has ability. Saw some nice pressure from Kalia Davis in that second half. Of course, they probably will have to add some on the pass rushing front, but they're also doing a lot right there. And when it comes to special teams, you just have to find a way to keep it even. Or just bad. Just don't be atrocious on special teams, because today it really, really did cost the 49ers. Good news is they play again on Thursday, and they want to wash this taste out of their mouth. Here are some interviews from that 49ers locker room.
Right now. I mean, I watched the tape. We'll go ahead and see that. But I don't think it was anything to do with Brock and being rusty or anything like that.
Anything you can put your finger on? Just anything you can put your finger on, struggles-wise?
No, just because, the game of football is so detailed. I mean, when I watch film, it'll be a lot easier to answer that question, where I could see, the actual details, if it was, the receivers getting to the right depth or being in the right spot or whatever it is. So I won't have that answer until I turn on the tape.
Health-wise, how are you doing, and what was going on out there? I know you were running up and down the sideline, probably testing the knee.
Yeah, I was testing it out. I felt pretty hard on that one play on the sideline. Try to keep my feet in bounds, and I feel pretty hard on my knee. And I was just feeling pain and a little bit of instability, so I wasn't trying to really mess with it. I was moving around. I was working with some of the trainers to try to make it feel better to go back out there, and that wasn't the case for me. I went out for one more play and felt a little bit of pain and a little bit of instability, so I just kind of shut it down from there.
Is it the same knee that you've been having issues with before?
No, I've never had issues with this, no. Yeah.
You might have said it already, but every week there's no such thing as an NFL game that's easy, and you pointed it out when you turn the ball over 4 times. It's pretty tough to win.
Yeah, you cannot win a football game. It's the league, turning the ball over 4 times and getting 0 turnovers. In the NFL, you can't make mistakes like that and expect to win games. And the fact that it was only a 5-point game, and we had the ball driving down to win the game, was pretty crazy. So,
what can you say about your defense that has been keeping you in the games?
Major hats off to them and kudos to them, because they've been playing their asses off, and it's really cool to see. It's really cool for me, to go against them every day in practice, and get better against those guys that are, we have the best defense in the league. So, it's really good.
Do you plan on more testing this week before Thursday, or do you think you'll be good for Thursday?
I don't have the answer to that right now. I'm going to see the doctors and see the trainers and see what kind of plan they have for me moving forward. But yeah, I don't really have an answer to that. Hopefully I am, yeah.
Thursday games are tough, but is there any solace that you guys can get back out there right away and you don't have to sit on this one too long?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about that in the locker room already, and it was just like, we can't soak on this. We got to move forward. When you got a Thursday game, that's the only choice you got. You can't sit back there and mope on a game like this. You got to let it go, and don't let it turn into 2.
But I didn't sense anything from it. It seemed normal.
Kyle's talked about the two-shell defense that's hard to pop a run. Are you saying things that it's close to be able to pop something big, or there's something not quite right
I mean,
there?
the first drive, we probably passed the ball 2 or 3 times. We ran the ball down the field. Yeah, I mean, we got behind, so you just couldn't stick to the run. You know, so honestly, this was the run game. I don't think was our issue today.
It seemed like it was like a little out of rhythm between Brock and wide receivers and just on the offense in general. Did you feel out of rhythm at all?
No, I'm offensive lineman. I ain't running around.
You're sitting at 3-1. We talked about all those close wins. You pile them up. I imagine that's why, you know, you're a 3-1 still. Do you feel like a 3-1 team? It's just things.
What a 3-1 team felt like. You know, I mean, we got 17 games, so 4 weeks in, trying to. It don't matter. We just trying to. We got a Thursday night game. We got a big divisional rival. That's all we focus on. I mean, the record will speak for itself at the end of the year.
What did Kyle say to you guys after the game?
We ain't got time to sit and dwell on it. We got the Rams in 3 days, so we gotta get on them.
A leader on this team, obviously the young guys on this team, not really experiencing what it's like to come off a loss and then go into a short week.
Thank you.
What are you kind of telling them to kind of turn the page quickly, being that you guys have a short week and a big game?
That was Coach Shanahan's message, so he pretty much hit the nail on the head with that exact message to them. And, it's their first time. We should be used to it as a team.
Yeah. Like I just said, man, we try to get to at least 2 takeaway every week, man, at least 1 to help our offense, get the ball back to them. We're able to do that this week, so we got to find a way, man. We got to find a way and come back on Thursday and see how we can get a turnover, help the offense a little bit more.
I mean, you get the one today where it looked like Upton had a pick, and then you don't get it.
Man,
but Kyle was saying we just got to get the one, then we'll go from there.
Oh man, yeah, that was tough, man. Also, that call on Upton, that was egregious, man. But hey, this football, man. You gotta roll with the punches, So always got to find a way.
We took too long to get going. That first half was not good enough. The explosive runs, leaky yardage. I think in the second half it was better, but still not up to our standard. Guys need to know where they're fitting, getting on and off blocks, making tackles, driving for 5. So looking to obviously be better on that this week, going into next week.